It is not just Donald Trump who is parroting Putin's lines. Tucker Carlson, who is, a band leader, if you will, for this faction of Republicans who are defeating these bills, was in Moscow interviewing Vladimir Putin. I asked Secretary Clinton about that journalistic endeavor, and this is what she had to say. Tucker Carlson is in Moscow right now interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Right.
The first American, I'll say, journalist to interview Putin since the war in Ukraine began. What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot. I mean, if you actually read translations of what's being said on Russian media, they make fun of him. I mean, he's like a puppy dog. He somehow has, after having been fired from so many outlets in the United States, I would not be surprised if he emerges with a contract with a Russian outlet, because he is a useful idiot. He says things that are not true. He parrots Vladimir Putin's pack of lies about Ukraine. So I don't see why Putin wouldn't give him an interview, because through him, he can, continue to lie about what his, objectives are in Ukraine and what he expects to see happen. It's really quite sad that not just somebody like Tucker Carlson, who has, as I said, been fired so many times because he seems unable to, correlate his reporting with the truth, but also because it's a sign that there are people in this country right now who are like a fifth column for Vladimir Putin. And why? I don't know. I mean, why are certain Republicans throwing their lot in? Why are, other Americans basically believing Putin? Why did Trump believe Putin more than our 11 intelligence agencies?
I don't know. Do you have a working theory on that?
I do have a working theory. But it's more than just the political partisan advantage. There is a yearning for leaders who can kill and imprison their opponents, destroy the press, lead a life that is one of impunity, unbound by any laws. There's a yearning among certain people in our country for that kind of leadership, and I find that absolutely gobsmacking terrifying.
I find it gobsmacking terrifying too, Allie, and it's sort of like we talk about, disinformation on social media. Well, disinformation from people like Tucker Carlson, the platform he has, and the fact that he's a willing participant to it.
And has been for a while. So he's been a big fan of Viktor Orban in Hungary. Viktor Orban comes and speaks at these events here, and Tucker Carlson goes and does a show from Hungary. He talked before the war came out about how we shouldn't be in bed with Ukraine because he called it a corrupt little country. Ukraine had a corruption problem. There's no problem and no question. And when it emerges from this war, they'll have to fix that because they'll be under the watchful eye of the rest of the world. It's not a reason for getting invaded by Russia. One of the things Tucker said is American journalists will not hold Volodymyr Zelensky to account. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I mean, we cover that war. There are things that Ukrainians do that are not fantastic, and we discuss it with them at all times. But they are a country that has been invaded by another country.
And it fundamentally believes in sort of like, democracy in a way that Vladimir Putin, who has journalists in jail,
Ukraine has been, for 20 years, struggled to find its democratic footing, and it really has struggled. But they are trying and trying and trying, and that's what the larger point is. In the same way that in America, if someone doesn't exactly like all of Joe Biden's policies, what you have to look at for this election is it's existential. It's a choice between who's upholding democracy and who's not. That's your issue in Russia and Ukraine. Who's upholding democracy and who's not. But Tucker Carlson is going to be there and be the journalist that none of us are.
And I say, journalist in quotes.
Yes.